Hey guys, Chris here at the RC Geek. We're in the shop today. We've got the EC-1500. A while back, we had some fun dropping a tank out of the airplane. Didn't quite look right based on these kind of faux Coast Guard colors. And so I wanted to do just a real quick repaint on the airplane because the airplane's inspired by the C-27 Spartan. So I want to turn it into one. Kind of robbed the paint section at Home Depot. Just grabbed some quick spray paints. So we're going to peel off the stickers, anything that we can, and then I'm actually going to do a couple light coats of polyacrylic just to seal up the foam, and then straight to paint. So I got the gray primer, and then I've got some black because all of the flying surfaces have black leading edges, and then I've got the clear coat. I'm just going to use the spray can clear. I used it on my P39. I actually was really happy with the result. So we're going to hammer this out and have some fun. So let's go. Alright guys, so we've stripped off all of the stickers. We've got 2 coats of polyacrylic on the airframe, and that was just done to kind of seal it up a little bit. And so now, onto the paint. I'm going to lightly sand the entire airframe, just real lightly to scuff it up a little bit. But otherwise, let's get on to painting. Alright guys, just wanted to check in really quickly. We've got the airplane, it's fully painted. We got the black leading edges painted as well. We are ready to do decals and weathering and finish this thing up. Before we do that, I wanted to talk through a couple of things in terms of the prep work that was done and the painting and whatnot. To prep the airplane for paint, we went through, peeled off all of the stickers that were on the airframe. Then we sanded down the ridges that existed based on pulling that off because some of the stickers were lining painted areas and things like that. And then we put the first primer coat. Well, what ended up happening is that showed some trouble spots, and that's the whole reason behind primer, quite frankly. So when we pulled the stickers off, it had left some pitting, and so to rectify that, I ended up using some lightweight spackle and filler all around on those trouble spots. Sanded that smooth and then used a little bit of polyacrylic localized in those areas to seal it all up, and then I sprayed another primer coat over that, and that made a huge difference. You know, the thing about it is when you're smoothing out an airframe, and I didn't do a lot of that here, but it takes multiple layers of primer. You primer, sand, primer, and that's going to really smooth out the finish for you. So you could do as many coats as you want ultimately, but we only did the 2 primary coats, and then we sanded that down. I did a final primer coat and then wet sanded that and went on to paint. Now originally I had intended to use the primer color as the actual color of the airframe. Problem was it was just too dark and it was too blue for scale. I went back and forth on different colors in Home Depot, ultimately finalized on the 2x Granite color, and this actually is pretty close to the actual color of the real airplane. It's not quite exact, but I was actually really pleased with the look that it gives. In masking for the black leading edges, I was having major paint adhesion problems. You know, using the Rust-oleum primer is not usually what I'll go for, but I was trying to do something quick and easy. Well, unfortunately, I wasn't getting really good adhesion to the bare foam especially. Ultimately, using Post-it notes to mask off everything on for the leading edges ended up working perfectly. No lifted paint, and so that's ultimately what I had to do to get all of this painted and real nice. And so super happy with the results. And so now it's on finishing this up. We're going to get some markings on here. I've designed all my own markings. Because the markings are black, I can get away with decals super easily, and you'll never even know the difference. Now to prep for that, I've got some gloss clear here. I'm going to clear coat all of the parts with gloss, and so that way the decals will really pull down and you won't get any kind of silvering in the surface. But we'll talk more about that at the end when we wrap this all up. So let's get on to some markings and finish up this airplane. Alright guys, so here is the finished C-27. The last few things that we did to finish it up, applied the markings. Now on the markings, I had originally intended to use vinyl. I bought a new vinyl cutter and I've been dying to use it. However, because of the paint adhesion problems, there was no way I was going to be able to use that because the transfer tape was going to lift up the paint. They're black markings, so I decided to go full water slide decals. So to prep for that, I sprayed a gloss clear coat over the entire airframe, and then I designed my own markings. I used Corel Draw to do that. I actually have a discussion on designing your own markings from a while back that I have a link in the corner there. So I printed the decals on LaserJet decal paper, applied them over the glossy finish, and then used Microset and Microsol. And the Microsol actually helps pull the decals. It'll soften the decals and really pulls them down so you don't get that silvering, especially when you have a glossy surface. And then from there, just put all of the decals on. And then the flag and the tail flash here, those were done on a LaserJet printable white vinyl. And so those were applied that way. That was it on the markings. And then from there, did a little weathering on the airframe. It was begging for it. I did a raw umber acrylic wash, brush painted that all over the panel lines, and then wiped it off with a paper towel and some Tamiya acrylic thinner in the direction of the airflow on the flying surfaces, and then on the fuselages I tend to wipe that off in the vertical direction. And then from there I did some airbrush shading over all of the panel lines using black, really light, really faint, and then burnished it all down with a Scotch-Brite pad. This is really important in the weathering process because it helps blend everything. Otherwise, you can run the risk of something being overpowered, and so it really helps a lot. And that was pretty much it. It's the same process I've shown a lot. And so from there, sprayed a flat clear over the airplane to finish it up, and then applied the windows. And these are the windows from Cali Graphics that she offers, and so it really changes the look of the airplane. So in placing the windows, because of the paint adhesion problems, I couldn't use the transfer tape. So I placed all of the windows individually, but I used Windex. I sprayed that onto the surface, and that allowed me to move the windows around kind of like a water slide decal. And so that ended up simplifying the placement of those windows quite a bit. And also to finish it up, once the airplane was had the flat clear sprayed over it, I ended up using Tamiya clear red and clear green to spray the wingtip lights, and so that way they've got the red and green look instead of the clear lenses. And to do that, it's actually an acrylic paint, and I just put it in unthinned, but then when I apply it, you got to apply it pretty wet, and so then what it ends up doing is it wets out and it dries nice and clear and glossy. So that was it. Really happy with how the airplane came out. It really transforms the airplane completely. That the orange and white is, kind of Coast Guard inspired, if you will, but honestly, I wasn't a huge fan of that. And so I love the look of the gray on here. I guess it's time to take it out to the field and fly it in its new colors, and I actually intend on using this airplane as a trainer for my son. So guys, that is it. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and until next time, I'll see you at the field.